Hi there. I got a fun one for you today. So, I want to share with you what I've learned. Anger is a strong feeling of displeasure or opposition, towards someone or something. It can also be described as like a strong, like uncomfortable, non-cooperative response to be it's perceived you are whoever it is, threat, a hurt, or a provocation of some sort. Anger is related to the sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, or freeze response. And so unmanaged anger, though, has been linked, believe it or not, to some short and long term health problems, even, like headaches, digestion problems, insomnia, increased anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, skin problems, heart attack, And there are also, by the way, 3 types of anger. I'm going to go over with you. So there's the passive aggression, who likes confrontation, right? Number 2 would be open aggression. That would be on the other side of the spectrum. As the name suggests, those who are open and lash out in anger, Number 3 would be assertive anger. See, now this is the healthy way to respond, to handle anger in a controlled and confident manner. However, what most may not realize is that anger is actually a secondary emotion, from inner suffering. Some common emotions that can trigger anger are feelings of anxiety, shame, sadness, fear, frustration, guilt, disappointment, worry. But I will also add embarrassment and jealousy. However, anger can also be a reaction to external stresses. For example, someone might feel threatened or disturbed or interrupted from, a peaceful emotional state. Some signs of anger include feeling tense, nervous or unable to relax, feeling guilty, feeling resentful towards, other people or situations. Anger can also be combined with other emotions, such as jealousy, sadness, or hopelessness, right? So one way to cope with anger actually is to identify the root cause. So among the most triggering primary emotions is frustration. And frustration is often, experienced when, you're feeling helpless, right, and out of control. Over time, this emotion can cause your mood to stew, until reaching an angry state. Not only is anger a secondary emotion, but it's also a very common emotion that often gets a bad rap. It's important, to notice that, there is a large difference between, anger and aggression. Feeling angry, it's often rooted in disappointment, feelings overwhelmed in fear and feelings of inadequacy. That may need to be addressed before, the anger can subside. Anger is an emotion characterized by antagonistic-ism, for sure, towards someone, or something, you feel has deliberately done you wrong, even if it's imagined. Anger can be a good thing. It can give you a way to express negative feelings. For example, or motivate you to find solutions to problems too, right? But excessive anger, though, can cause problems. It helps to be able to recognize, what triggers your anger and identifying even how you normally respond to such triggers. Then with the help, if needed by a coach, a therapist, you can learn new ways to either avoid or respond to these, triggers, right? I like to encourage the 3 rules of expressing anger, which is number 1, don't hurt yourself, show yourself respect, right, and love. Number 2 is don't hurt others, right? Respect others. 3 would be don't hurt the environment, respect the places, around you. And then I would say apply the 4 A's, right? There's 4 of them. It's agree and admit to the facts of the situation, right? And number 2 would be acknowledge its impact. 3 would be apologize for the situation. And 4 would be act to correct it. So regardless of the root cause of anger, there are strategies to help you handle, any situation with ease and success. It just takes willingness, right? But the most common triggers of anger are feeling wronged or mistreated, feeling unsafe, being picked on or, made fun of by others, being blamed for something you didn't even do, or not feeling heard. There are steps that you can begin to apply and encourage even, today. Remember, identify, make a personal note of situations, right? Or things that tend to trigger your anger. It's important to understand, the root of the emotion. Take a moment to pause in the future, before acting, or stop and think, of the potential consequences. Also learn how to calm yourself down, find healthy ways to express your anger and begin to apply and maintain, a healthy lifestyle. It's important to unlearn, I would say, or stop, the unhealthy ways of dealing with anger, things like shouting or swearing, losing control, breaking, or, even throwing things. Emotionally or physically, hurting others, being rude to others, or getting into fights, trying to make others angry on purpose even. It's always a new day. And you can choose to break the anger cycle, right? Understand, if and when it is a real problem, find a way to cool down your temper. And de-escalate, arguments. Think before you speak. Own your anger, and be aware of warning signs. Consider keeping a journal. I would say deal with the anger, as soon as possible. And lastly, I would suggest on active listening even too. If you are in a relationship that needs support, you can coach each other at some point. One of the biggest things I felt was a hot topic and most popular as a crisis counselor, actually, was to apply the how to not let people get to you, right? Number 1, establish healthy boundaries. Ask for what you need. Number 2, I told them, take responsibility, for your emotions. 3 would be let other people be responsible for their emotions. And the next one would be, acknowledge your choices and live according to your values. 6 would be forgive and move forward, right? And the next one would be stop trying to prove people wrong. Don't let your self-worth depend on other people's opinions. If you are one of those people that, find themselves, or your partner, always angry or irritated for no reason, know that it is common to feel irritable, from time to time. But if you feel unusually irritable or irritable all the time or on edge, it's important that you talk to your doctor. Because it could be a symptom of a mental, health condition like depression, anxiety, bipolar, or physical condition too, So next is to learn to let go of anger. That is often joined with hurt. Write in a journal, pray or use guided meditation. You can talk with a person you found to be wise and compassionate, such as a spiritual leader, a mental health provider, or an impartial loved one, family or friend. But be aware that forgiveness is a process. Unforgiveness, stores anger. Even small hurts may need to be revisited and forgiven again and again. People are hardwired to receive, love, respect, and sensitivity, not bitterness, from others. Anger directed at spouses or family members increases their anxiety too. Lowers ability to trust, weakens confidence for both of you, increases irritability for everybody and can harm everyone's, physical health even. So it's important, though, to avoid absorbing other people's emotions, right? That's one I had to work on myself even. Especially when you're angry, create boundaries, establish your baseline, determine what is yours, who you are, what you're feeling, take the space so that that, practice grounding activities, revitalize separation, spend time in nature, make time for self-care, and even process it with someone, when you're ready. Be ready to step, though, into developing the skill of acquiring as many tools as possible to maintain, stress and anger management, which often go hand in hand. This often requires our stepping outside of our comfort zone, and practicing, new behaviors, right? As well as new ways of thinking even. So the next step is choosing the most effective tool, we'll call it our kit, for a particular situation or a challenge, right? And remember, not all tools work for everybody or all the time, the situation, the person, the place, the thing, So here are some helpful ideas I want you to put on your list and to keep, in your little kit. So you can consider how many of them you may choose to use, at one point or another. I would say effective stress reduction, stress management, focusing on areas in which you have control, standing up for yourself in a firm but respectful way, setting appropriate limits and boundaries, knowing when even to let go, confronting when appropriate and safe, always avoiding, only if and when, appropriate. But humor, my favorite one. Physical exercise, increasing a life mastery and satisfaction, building on one's strength, to address life's challenges, realistic expectations of ourselves and others, emotional and psychological healing, exploring different perspectives or opposed, to the tunnel vision, right? Or rigid thinking, I would also call it. Not personalizing situations and adapting a problem-solving stance, if you will. Instead, learning to understand displaced anger is important too, because in some instances, chronic anger causes, it spills over into other emotions, right? So they're less tolerable even to a partial or particular individual, like fear and sadness, helplessness, despair. So conversely, when the experience of anger doesn't feel tolerable, it may be covered over by other more tolerable emotions or mind states, such as chronic fatigue or rationalization or blame, cynicism, I would say, sadness, even helplessness. Anger may also be an expression of other psychological conditions, though, too, if not in you, but the other person, right? So such as, like I said, before, depression, especially in men, though, or like unresolved trauma. I've come across that too. I know it's important to be a tough guy, but sometimes guys hang on to, childhood stuff or teenage stuff or whatever, and they don't even realize it. And it's letting them affect, their today. But it may also be, the result of another, like, psychological condition, like a substance abuse or injury to the brain even, too. Lastly, I would like to share with you 5 of the most common myths about anger. Over the years, I've learned. Number 1, ignore it and it will go away. Reality check. If we have a feeling that persists and we deny it, it will manifest indirectly, usually in more harmful ways, to yourself at some point. So, number 2, time heals all wounds. Reality check says, unless emotions are resolved, they will fester. Number 3 would be, let it out and you'll feel better. Reality check says, reactive expression of anger may provide a momentary, subjective sense of relief, yet habitual blowing up harms one's physical health. In addition, habitual blowing up builds and reinforces neurological paths even that make it harder to remain calm and even in the future. So, and last but not least would be relationships you want in your life, such as your job, the connection with your spouse or your partner, your friends, your children, etc., may be destroyed by persistent displays of anger. Number 4, if I'm not angry, others will walk all over me. Reality check says, anger frequently gets results in the short term and therefore is an easy habit to develop. However, in the long term, it pushes people away. And it makes one lose credibility even, too. Number 5 would be, I can't help it. I'm an angry person. Reality check for that one would be, this attitude confuses feeling and acting, leaving you at the mercy of even fluctuating emotions. It is other people and situations that make me angry. Reality says not everybody gets angry at the same time, right? We make ourselves angry by the way in which we interpret certain events or people. So also, if we choose this stance, we allow circumstances, outside of ourselves to control even our peace of mind. All right, guys. That's all today. Have a great day. Talk to you soon, okay? Hope this helps. Bye.